Hi, Jules Cruise Companion. As you know, just recently I went on Coral Princess from Brisbane to Sydney, and when we got off the boat at Sydney, we had a couple of hours adventure before we got on a plane and returned back to Brisbane. This is a little summary of what adventures we had when we disembarked Coral Princess at Sydney's Circular Quay, their international cruise terminal in Sydney. In a previous video, I summarised what our parking choices were when we went on a cruise from Brisbane to Sydney and flew back to Brisbane at the end of our cruise. The price for that was $29 for the weekend parking. Taxi cost us about $42, and so that was our summary of the parking when we were going to the cruise and coming back. But when we got to Sydney, we ended up spending a few hours before our flight was due to leave at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Because when we disembarked Coral Princess at the International Cruise Terminal at Circular Quay in Sydney, we thought we would drop our bags at one of those bag services and sightsee for a few hours before we caught the train out to the domestic airport for our flight back to Brisbane. What we had failed to recognise is that we have the Bounce app, so you go on that, you book how many suitcases you want to keep in the storage for how many hours. And the closest Bounce is at a restaurant that's there at Circular Quay. But because we didn't book online, we missed out on getting space at that particular Bounce bag drop-off service. Not to be downhearted, we just Googled the next reasonable place that we could leave our bags so that we could do a couple of hours sightseeing before heading out to the domestic airport. So we looked online and we saw that there was a bag service at Central Station, which was only a car 3-4 stops from Circular Quay. So we purchased a one-way ticket from Circular Quay to Central Station, about $4.20. When we got to the Central Station on track 23, we moved over onto the Grand Concourse, so it's a very large train terminal, and we located by the Pitt Street exit or entrance the bag storage area. And so that bag storage for 2 bags for most of the day cost us $15 a bag, so $30, and I'll pop the receipt just there. One of the things my travel buddy noted was that there is the hop-on, hop-off bus service, that if you do use the hop-on, hop-off bus service, you can actually store your bags there at that location for free. But on this particular occasion, I actually wanted to go and have a massage rather than sit on the bus for an hour and a half and do the wonderful circuit around Sydney. So we negotiated between ourselves, and the agreement was we would go for a massage just nearby at Haymarket, and the next time we're in Sydney in October, when we get on Carnival Splendour from that same location at Circular Quay, we would do the hop-on, hop-off bus, do the circuit on the morning before we got onto Carnival Splendour for, ironically, our cruise from Sydney to Moreton Island, back to Sydney, and then fly back to Brisbane. Just another one of those little adventures. After we dropped our bags at the bag service, once again, Googled online to see which was the closest Thai massage. And just there at Haymarket, it was a place called Nice Thai Massage. And so we rang to make sure that there was no issue that we could have a booking. And we basically just were a walk-in off the street. And we ended up with a 1.5 hour massage, half an hour for a foot massage and an hour body massage with a Thai lady walking on your back. And that was approximately $160 for the hour and a half. After we'd had our fabulous massage and we were feeling pretty refreshed, we just inquired from the lady where was a nice local eating place, and she indicated just up the street was within their group of Thai businesses, and that was the Fat Tiger. And so we went over there for lunch and had, I think, a stir fry and a massaman, and each of us had a drink. I had an amazing coconut drink, where my travel buddy had an iced tea that just seemed to be forever tall. And I think that came to about $22 per person, thereabouts, for the lunch. So after we'd finished that amazing lunch at the Fat Tiger, we just walked the couple of hundred metres back to Central Station, and then we purchased our ticket to get from Central Station to the Domestic Terminal, just past Mascot there, and I'll put the ticket just here, and I think that was about $20.40 or something of that nature. And that was probably about a 10-15 minute train ride once the train arrived, and the train comes on a really regular cycle. I think the most we would have waited maybe was about 8 minutes, and there were a lot of other travellers using the train to get to both the domestic and the international airport for their journeys wherever the magic was taking them. We had originally booked our flight for a 4 p.m. type departure time to give us enough window for a bit of an explore in Sydney after we got off the boat, and we didn't have to rush to get our plane. But when we arrived at the airport, there were a couple of other flights that we could have booked a little earlier, one at about 1 o'clock. It goes about an hour. Every hour, it's almost like a shuttle service from Sydney to Brisbane. And so we just waited, and we saw off from the terminal, the one at just after 1 o'clock and the one just after 2 o'clock, and we waited for ours, which was just after 3 before 4, which was an absolutely fabulous, nice little wait. So when I am booking my flights for after I get off a cruise, I always book a flight for after 12 midday, because that gives you a little bit of an opportunity to relax a little bit before you get off the boat. You don't have to be rushing off the boat as first thing when it docks and gets the clearance. And so this time when we got off the boat, we were probably one of the last people to get off about 8:30 or something of that nature. And because we had booked our car into the airport car parking, when our flight, which was literally only an hour and 10, an hour and something, by the time we got up to cruising speed, they served the drinks and cheese and crackers, and it was time to come down again, and it literally gave me a startle when we hit the tarmac, because it just didn't seem to be that long of a flight. And we got our bags really promptly from the carousel, and then the car was waiting for us over at the domestic airport car parking. So the summary of our spend for our disembarkation day in Sydney to get back to Queensland. So we had a like $4.20 train ticket to get from Circular Quay to Central Station. We had a $30 fee for putting the 2 bags into the bag storage. Then we had a massage, which was about $160 per person. And then we had some lunch, which was about $25 per person. And then we had the train ticket to get us to the domestic airport, which was about $20 and something or other cents. So our total disembarkation day activities cost around $235 per person. So if we were to take into consideration the amount for the car parking and the transport part to get to the cruise, would have been about $100 by the time. It was $29 for the car parking, about 40 plus for the taxi, and probably some petrol, probably about 25 to 30. So that would have accounted for about $100. So disembarkation and getting to the cruise terminal, that would have been about $335. That's not taking into consideration the price of the flight or the price of the cruise, but we did do an inside cabin, so it was a little cheaper, and the flight was booked a one-way through a travel agent. So ancillary or sundry costs we added on to our cruise and our flight would have been about $235 for the disembarkation day activities. If we got on the hop off bus, it would have been a little bit cheaper because that would have been about $60 per person. So if we'd have done that as our activity, it would have been cheaper. But a very reasonable way of getting from the Sydney cruise terminal to the domestic airport, about $24, $25 to get you to your location, your destination. Absolutely fantastic service. So as I mentioned, my next cruise is going to be out of Sydney, so I'll be flying from the Sunshine Coast to Sydney, getting on Carnival Splendor, coming back to Moreton Island, going back to Sydney, then flying back to the Sunshine Coast. So that's going to be in October of 2022. This is Julie Jules, Cruise Companion, saying stay safe, everybody, and happy travels.